Hello, and welcome to the News in a Hurry for February 13th, 2013.
I'm William Welch, and this is my co-host Travis, television hacker Volker.
This week in your weird news, a television hack warned viewers in Montana of an impending zombie apocalypse. An official-sounding voice stated, "The bodies of the dead are rising from their graves and attacking the living," after the emergency alert system tones concluded.
In matters of health and science, a 9-year-old girl gave birth to a baby at Zoquipon Hospital in Jalisco. The father is reportedly a 17-year-old runaway. Authorities are treating it as a sexual assault rape case. It seems that international agreements to protect the ozone layer are having a noticeable effect.
The foremost among these agreements is the Montreal Protocol, which was opened for signature in 1987. This treaty focuses on several groups of hydrocarbons which contain either chlorine or bromine, and are known to harm the ozone layer. The treaty also provides a timetable for reducing and then eliminating their production.
According to the European Space Agency, the Antarctic ozone hole is the smallest it has been in the past decade, and it could be back to 1960s levels by the middle of the century.
The world's largest saltwater crocodile has died in the Philippines. The 50-year-old croc weighed in at 2,000 pounds. The enormous reptile was at home in a pond at an ecotourism park.
Antibiotic use on farms in China has led to a rise in resistant bacteria, according to a study published in the Proceedings of the National Academy in Sciences. Though the study was done in China, antibiotic use is common across the globe.
The antibiotics are absorbed poorly by livestock, and the majority of it ends up in their manure, which is often used as fertilizer. This both spreads and dilutes the antibiotics, which sets a perfect breeding ground for the rapidly reproducing bacteria to develop a resistance. The study seems to indicate that both a need to regulate antibiotic use on farms, as well as a need for alternate treatments should antibiotic-resistant bacteria infect humans.
For you sports fans, the Seattle Mariners make Felix Hernandez the highest-paid pitcher in baseball history by closing a $175 million 7-year contract.
Usain Bolt took third in his 2013 400-meter debut at the Camperdown Classic. Bolt was outshined by Johan Blake, who took second, and Warren Weir in first place. Here in the U.S., the cabin in the woods has burnt, and the charred body that is believed to be ex-cop Christopher Dorner has been recovered. This concluded a nearly week-long pursuit of Dorner, who became a fugitive after being terminated from the L.A. Police Department. Dorner, a former Navy reservist, declared war and set out on a campaign to exact revenge against the police department. He was the prime suspect in the murder of 3 people in L.A. and a 4th in a gunfight at the cabin before it went up in flames.
A tornado which traveled across 3 counties in Mississippi caused widespread destruction, including damage to buildings at the University of Southern Mississippi. Over 60 people were injured and 200 homes were damaged or destroyed, but no deaths have been reported. Ample warning is credited as one factor in the lack of human deaths. Some places received as much as 30 minutes warning via tornado sirens.
A Carnival cruise ship has been running on emergency power for 3 days after an engine fire broke out, disabling the ship's propulsion systems. The ship was sailing off the Gulf of Mexico when the troubles began. On a ship that size, the engines provide power for many of the ship's systems. In the absence of the power they provide, the passengers were forced to go without climate control and other basic luxuries like hot water. Carnival has apologized for the inconvenience and provided all passengers with a full refund in addition to a cruise credit.
Crude oil prices are going up. The trading price of a barrel of crude oil has risen $12 since mid-December, and the price you pay at the pump has gone up as well. The average price has risen 28 cents per gallon to $3.60, according to the American Automobile Association. Many are blaming oil speculators for the rise in price, and some have even tried to regulate the quantity of oil hedge funds. That plan was denied by a judge because he ruled that there was not enough evidence that speculation led to price swings.
Things may be more complicated than that, however. Oil is a world commodity and is influenced by many factors, including a rise in the demand in China, reduced production in Saudi Arabia, and many other factors.
Around the world, A cluster of 35 pyramids has been discovered at a site in Sudan. Researchers are surprised at the density of the construction. 13 pyramids were found packed into a space slightly larger than a basketball court.
Japan has filed complaints against both China and Russia. Japan claims that China aimed a fire control radar, which is used to target torpedo attacks, at one of their ships. Russia invaded Japanese airspace with 2 fighter jets, according to Japan's complaint. Japan and China are at odds over the Kuril Islands, and Russia has been performing military maneuvers around that area.
Pope Benedict XVI has resigned, effective at the end of the month. The 85-year-old claims he doesn't have the strength to fulfill his duties and is stepping aside for the good of the Church.
North Korea has successfully carried out its third, controversial, nuclear test this past week. The test involved detonating a smaller, more powerful bomb underground. The blast sent powerful seismic waves that drew condemnation from Washington, the United Nations, and others. North Korea said that this test was merely its first response to what it called U.S. threats.
Syrian opposition forces have captured a military airbase near the northern city of Aleppo after a 17-day siege. After the capture, Syrian warplanes attacked the base. Opposition activists said that when the base was captured, large caches of ammunition, heavy machine guns, and anti-aircraft weapons were captured as well. Outside of the capital city of Damascus, government troops continue to battle with the opposition to deny them access. An estimate by the UN indicates that the conflict has cost more than 60,000 lives. Freshwater supplies are getting more scarce in the Middle East, according to a NASA study. Increased demand for groundwater, poor water management, and a drought in 2007 are some of the contributing factors. The study looked at 7 years' worth of data starting in 2003 and found that freshwater reserves in Turkey, Syria, Iraq, and Iran had reduced significantly. And that's all for your news in a hurry. You can find our show notes in the description if you'd like to learn more about a story.
To suggest a story, you can find our email below. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the news in a hurry.